I met her back in middle school and we always had an interesting relationship. I had already known her for a while before realizing I had a crush on her, and I still remember the exact moment that shift happened. I remember that when she first started talking to me, I felt like I could immediately trust her. She looked exactly like Mulan, word for word, bar for bar. So pretty. I knew her since 2015, and in the beginning of 2019 is when things would start to turn toxic for the next 3 years. I hated her after my grandmother died because of what she chose to do after, and since then the hate only got stronger. Up until January of this year when I realized that she probably has a specific mental illness that I'm not going to name. It made me stop hating her completely because all of the things that she did in our relationship wasn't even her fault. She was legitimately trying her best and I didn't know. It led to me very quickly deciding that the best time to remake that video from a year ago that I made on her was at that time, but the video also turned out to be a mess. I had just found out that she probably had this illness, and it was the type of shit that made me tear up. I had realized that I was misinterpreting her actions for so long, that as bizarre as she was at times, she was telling the truth. And that if I had just known sooner, I would have done everything I could to try to understand her better. So naturally, I was very emotional. The concept of making a video about her was one that felt so odd for such a long time, because giving away our entire relationship with all the really intense details and whatnot just feels too weird to do on the internet like that. So either I give the raw details or I summarize. But a summary is inherently going to be biased unless you make it so vague and so bland that there was really no point in giving it anyways. And considering that she doesn't have a platform to speak for herself on what happened, there's no way I can make a video like that in good faith. Even when I hated her, I still respected the principle that a video like that could not exist because the person in question can't even represent themselves. But I can't not make a video about her at all, given the nature of this channel and her relevance in much bigger events. This version of me wouldn't exist if I hadn't fucked up that relationship. The pain I caused her is what made me become so obsessively introspective, because I swore to myself I would never hurt somebody I loved the same way again. Quite honestly, I don't know what she truly thinks of me. I know she still has feelings because her Spotify is one of the wildest, most direct things I've ever seen in my life. With everything I know and have witnessed, I'd have to literally gaslight myself into thinking that she didn't want us to work out as lovers, because the evidence is too strong. We never actually dated, but the way we kept trying to fight to make our relationship work made it pretty obvious to both of us that if we actually managed to fix the issues that we had with each other and got back together, then we probably would have. I just don't see how someone could see that relationship and think to themselves, this was just two best friends. The language we used to describe our relationship, the things that she let me say to her, the intensity of the emotions, you just can't. Never mind the fact that she even admitted at one point that she actually loved me. So we were basically in the more than friends but less than lovers stage indefinitely, while we were trying to fix a relationship that was getting increasingly more toxic. Anyone that's actually been in love can easily see why this was so hard for us to let each other go, especially since we were so young and each other's first loves. Our birthdays were a week apart, but mine was at the end of the year and hers was at the beginning. And for a long time, it felt really symbolic as to how we were so close yet still so far apart. We were perfect for each other personality-wise, but mentally we were the literal worst possible pairing for each other. I've never called her my ex-girlfriend, but she's definitely an ex-something. Call her whatever you want. But with how long and intense it was, it definitely warrants something. When I first found out that she probably has the illness that I think she does, it devastated me. It made me regret throwing out all of her gifts. It made me feel like I was mourning the loss of the relationship all over again. It killed me to think that if even just one of us wasn't mentally ill, that it could have worked, and that if neither of us were mentally ill, that it would have worked. We were doomed to fail from the moment that we met, but we kept trying to make it work anyway. I wish you all could know the girl that I had fell in love with. She truly had the cutest smile I had ever seen. No matter how angry or how sad you felt, her smile would make you feel better. I could listen to her talk for hours and hours. Her humor and our synergy was so much fun. I just loved seeing her happy. One of the times she came to my house so we can talk things out, we were having a heavy conversation that made me cry, and her immediate response was to run over and hug me for 20 minutes. And whenever I think about all of that long enough, it makes me feel even worse for the mistakes that I made. She deserves the love that my past self tried to and wanted to give her. I will say though, I do remember I'd sometimes feel as if being with her would limit me. And this was long before I actually grew a pair of nuts and took charge of my life. I just knew that deep down the life I could have if she wasn't in it would be vastly different than the one I'd have if we actually did work out. And I just knew the one without her would result in a fuller life. Despite everything I've said, I truly don't think about her anymore. Not only was it so long ago, but I've had so much happen since things ended, and have so much to prepare for in my future that there really is no time to think about this, even if I wanted to. I currently don't know where we stand, and even though I'd like to stay in contact every once in a while, I think I've emotionally matured close to a point where simply seeing her live a happy life in the rare moments I do decide I want to check on her would be enough for me, because she really deserves it. And that kind of growth means a lot to me. I learned a lot from that relationship, and I will definitely credit all my future successes to it. I don't know how I'm going to look back on this video, honestly, but it feels like this is all there really is to say. And it feels weird because if I really wanted to get into it, this video could be hours long as I keep remembering more and more things. But she was a love from a past life, and I'm on track to something new now. So while the feelings of care are still there deep inside that vault, it's not like there's much else for my current self to expand on. And quite honestly, that makes me kind of glad. It's the kind of growth I never expected to make, if I'm being honest. In the original video I made on her a year ago, I closed it off by saying, I like to think that we exist in an alternate universe, younger, holding hands, and learning how to properly love each other for the first time. And even though I'd say I've moved on, I also can't say that it's not a thought that still brings me comfort.